Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing A Cryptic Clue, written by Victoria Gilbert. It's a cozy mystery, and it's the first book in the Hunter Clewe series. This book is going to be released later this year. I received a free e-copy of this book for an honest review from the publisher, so I'm so glad I was able to read this before it's released, because it is such a great book. I enjoyed this very much. For a cozy mystery, it just hits a lot of the boxes. There's some great characters, some great scenery and great settings. The mystery is really good and engaging, and the characters just really play their part so well in this story. Let's talk more about this book now. Our main protagonist, Jane Hunter, is starting a new job. She's a librarian, she's about 60 years old, and she's moved into a new area, into a small apartment, to be close to this new job. And what she's going to be doing is cataloguing some really big collections of books and paperwork and other sorts of things that are owned by another character who's our second protagonist, Hunter Clewe. So Cameron is quite wealthy, lives in a huge house. He's the son of a very wealthy person, so inherited all his money. And he's a very unique character, and a character as a main protagonist that I've not seen in a cozy mystery series before. And that made him very engaging and also very endearing, because just things he goes through in this book, the way he's presented, his actions, and just his character, the way that character's built in the story, you can't help but feel for him. He's so endearing in this story. And so is Jane. Jane's very endearing and engaging. She's very different to Cameron. So Jane is more salt of the earth. She's very wise, very worldly, and she's somebody you think of as being very motherly. She has great advice to give. And there are moments in this story where Cameron does come to Jane for advice, and Jane gives that to him, and you can see their friendship start to develop in this story. It's not there at the start. They're a little bit standoffish with each other at the start, and as the story progresses, they start to become friends of a sort, and that just opens so many possibilities up for the rest of the series. And I'm hoping there's more books in this series. I think there will be, but I'm just hoping we see that friendship really solidify more between those two characters, and just I like to see them rely on each other for a lot of things in this series, because they're two great characters that I think balance each other out very well. The things that make Cameron so unique is the author's written him as being almost OCD. There are little behaviour tics that he has throughout the story. He also has a lot of anxiety. He doesn't like to leave the house, so he's a bit agoraphobic. And that just makes him endearing, because he's a character that has these little personality flaws that just, make you think that he just needs comfort. He needs some sort of security. He needs somebody to give him confidence, or somebody to help him a little bit. And I think Jane's going to be that in this series. Of course, being a cozy mystery, we have other characters, other support characters that add a lot to the story. You have to have that in a cozy mystery. You've got to have those characters that are continuing on in other books in the series. Otherwise, it's not a real cozy. It doesn't have that feel of a real cozy. There are some great characters in this book that I think would make great support characters throughout the whole series, and I'm hoping they do, because they're enjoyable, they're engaging, they're endearing as well, and they do add a lot to this story. There are two in my mind that stand out more than others. One is Laura, and Laura is the personal assistant to Cameron. I like her because she has this she's very strong as a character, and she just has this no-nonsense approach. You feel like she has a lot of affection for Cameron, but you also feel like she's a little bit stoic in that she doesn't like to give it away. Even though we can see it through Jane's eyes, she doesn't really want to give herself away too much. So I'm just wondering what that means for Laura and Cameron in future books. The second is Vincent, and Vincent is Jane's landlord. I like Vincent a lot in this book. He's an ex-journalist, and he has all these connections to other journalists and other things in the town, in the area. He also has his ear out for gossip. He knows a lot of stories about the area, about different people in the area, and he adds a lot to the story and to the mystery as well, because he helps investigate this mystery. He helps Jane and Cameron. I do like Vincent. I'm hoping he stays around in the series because I just feel like he'll be integral to solving future mysteries in this series. Now onto the mystery in this book. Of course we have to have a mystery for a cozy mystery. I mean, it's a mystery after all. The mystery is a murder. I won't give too much away about what happens because you want to read it. I think it's worth reading. It's interesting where the crime happens. Because of the location of the crime, there are many suspects immediately. One of the main suspects is Cameron, one of the main protagonists. So, of course, our two protagonists, Jane and Cameron, they're trying to, prove Cameron didn't commit the murder, didn't commit the crime. That's the whole basis of this first book, apart from getting to know everybody. And there's some other things going on in the background of the main mystery, some other secrets that come out, some other things that get found out along the way. And I enjoyed that. It added a lot of history, a lot of background to the characters and to the setting. Some of them I wish were played out a bit more and came out in future books in the series. I thought they could have. I thought there was an opportunity to do that, not to bring too much into this book. But it did add a lot to the characters and it gave some of the characters more substance. So for that reason, it wasn't too bad. But just my personal wish would be that some of those secrets played out a little bit more in future books in the series. The pace of the story is great. The mystery is great. The characters are great. It's really well constructed. I just wanted this to be longer. I wanted to spend more time with the characters. It wasn't long enough for me, and I'm hoping future books in the series will be that little bit longer because I think these characters are worth it. Give us more pages with them because they do shine through so much in this book. One element I liked especially was Jane being a librarian. I just love that. I love cozy mysteries where libraries or librarians play a big part. Just something I like in books. And because of that, this just stood out to me a lot and was one of the reasons why I wanted to read this as well, that librarian character. And I'm hoping that Jane just stays as good as she was in this book in future books in the series. Reading this has made me want to read all the books this author's written. And I love that feeling. I love when you read a book from an author and it just gives you that joy that you want to go back and read all the books in the past catalogue. And that's what this book has done. I'm hoping I can get my hands on them because this book is so good. I just really think that every other book the author's written would just be as good as this or even better. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And I'm going to dive into other series this author's written. I just have to find out where to get them from. But I do plan to read them. Jane is our main protagonist and she's a great character. Being a librarian character, I love that. I just love librarian characters in cozy mysteries. And cozy mysteries that, have libraries as their setting. I just like that in those books. She's a great character and just the way she's built in the story, the way she's planned out in the story, just seems well deserving of being an amateur sleuth. It just fits. Just something about her fits in that role. And it just comes down to the writing and how the character is presented to us. Just something about Jane, it's really hard to put my finger on it, but something about her just makes me think she fits in that role. I don't know if it's because when I think about Jane, sometimes I think about Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote. Sometimes I link the two together. Maybe it's that, maybe it's just that almost the same age group and being a strong female character and being very clever and very wise and very insightful in the story. Just makes me think of Jessica Fletcher. Cameron is another great character. What I liked about this character is his little personality flaws made him so endearing. You just get the feeling, he's just yearning for somebody to understand him and kind of befriend him and take him under their wing. And I think Jane's going to do that. And you can already see a little bit of growth in Cameron in this book. And I enjoyed seeing that because he's such a great character. He's very insightful, he's very clever, very smart character. And I liked seeing him just, build up that strength a little bit to move past some of the personality flaws he has. And, we shouldn't call them flaws, right? Because it's what makes him his character. It's what makes him Cameron. So we should get to enjoy the characters for who they are, about how they're built, everything about them. So I should stop calling them personality flaws. There's personality traits, but it's those traits that do make him endearing. Vincent, Jane's landlord, I like this character a lot. That being an ex-journalist just adds a lot to the story. It just means he's got different avenues he can go down and get information to help Jane out, and I like that. I like the interactions between Jane and Vincent. They seem a lot of fun, and you just get the feeling that Vincent may become a bit bigger in further books in the series. I mean, he's got room to grow, I think, in the series. There's scope there, and I'm waiting to see what happens with Vincent, because I just think he's going to be a standout character in future books in this series. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait for future books in this series. I rate this a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed so much about this: the characters, the setting, the mystery, the fact that the main character is a librarian. I even enjoyed the cataloguing scenes, where Jane's looking through some of the collections and she's cataloguing certain items and finding little treasures along the way. I really enjoyed that. It was really fun to follow Jane as she finds that. And of course it leads to different things in the story, but I just found those scenes quite engaging, actually. And lastly, thank you to Crooked Lane, the publishers, for providing a free copy of this book for an honest review. I enjoyed reading this so much. As I said at the start of the video, this book is going to be released later in the year. I think you can go and pre-order it now, but keep your eyes out for it because it's such a great read. On my channel, I do review a lot of cozy mysteries. If you enjoy cozy mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. There's also a cozy mystery playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.